Hey there, it's Pete with GCI Turf. I hope you're having a great day today. I've got a very special guest with me today. Let me introduce you to the Gravely Pro Stance. This is the GCI Turf MowDown ShowDown, and this is the Gravely Pro Stance. Again, I'm Pete. I'd like to welcome you to the GCI Turf YouTube channel, and we've got a very cool opportunity to show you almost all of the major brand of stand-on mowers. None of these manufacturers are paying me. I'm doing this on my own time, on my own dime. I do ask that you be respectful in the comments. American hands build these mowers, and these manufacturers provide those Americans with jobs. You got to think, something you might say could affect that down the road in some way. This is not a competition style video. There are going to be no clear winners here. Each mower is going to get their own dedicated video, and I'm going to score them on a point system from 1 to 10. Okay, so just got done doing the production speed type mowing at my father-in-law's house and my neighbors. I think I'm kind of amend how I'm going to do that a little bit, just so you're aware. I think I'm going to put all that in one video for all the different mowers. I think that'll work better and just flow better again with my schedule and with the flow of the videos. So be looking for that a little later in the series, and we'll kind of group all that into one video with all the different mowers. So while everything's fresh on my mind, I cut my yard yesterday afternoon. Got up today, went over and cut my father-in-law's, and then cut over here at my neighbor's. And so while everything's fresh on my mind, I want to give you my one word. And again, this isn't a scoring category. It's just one word I think best describes this particular mower, the Gravely Pro Stance. I'm going to say suppressed. If you took that word and put it into two words, you know, technically it's a one word thing, but let's call it two words: held back. Okay, I think the mower is held back or suppressed in a few different ways. And as we go through looking over the mower in detail, I think you'll kind of get a good idea of what I'm talking about, and I'll try to elaborate on some of that a little bit more. All right, so the first category is bad to the bone. This is dealing with aesthetics and how the mower, just the look of it. I think it's got a pretty tough look. I think it's maybe a little bit boxy, for lack of better words. I think going off the looks alone, I think possibly maybe could add a little bit of roundness to some of the features and things like that to kind of give it a more. Now you got to remember, I like the in your face, I'm going to rip your head off look. Okay, that's the look I prefer. But overall, it's a good looking machine. Don't get me wrong. I like the looks of it. It just looks a little kind of too, I don't know, it's very difficult to word this. It's kind of boxy, and it seems like they could change a few little things here and there on the aesthetics to kind of make it look more tough. And again, you shouldn't buy your mower on what something looks like. You buy it based on the performance of the machine. So looks is kind of a thing where, you know, some people are gonna, you know, they're gonna buy the 68 Camaro no matter what, because that's what they like. They like the look of that particular car. So you can kind of take that with a grain of salt on the looks, because everybody's gonna have their own personal opinion on that. So on aesthetics, I think I'm gonna score this 7.5, just because I think, in my personal opinion, there's a little bit to be desired. Build quality, again, made in the USA. That is a huge deal, especially for me personally. I think overall the build quality is really good. I don't see anything on the machine as far as structurally, you know, is the frame the metal too small to handle all this. I think all of that spot on. Looking at the welds, I would guess some of this is robot welding for sure. Overall, man, I think it's built really, really well. I don't see any shortcuts in the metal, in the size of the metal, the gauge of the metal. It just looks like a really good built machine. The fenders might leave a little to be desired, and again, that might could go back to that aesthetics look, to where, you know, they might could possibly make the fenders a little bigger to make it look a little bit beefier. As far as build quality goes, I got to score this a 9. I think the thing is built really, really well. Now, I don't see any issues with the build quality on it, so let's go with a 9 on that. So while we're in the toolbox, let's do ease of maintenance. I'm going to drop the deck all the way down. That way we can access the belts pretty easily. And basically I'm going to come right here. I have these 2 wing nuts, and these would come off like so. That comes out of the way, and wow, look at there, man. That opens up really, really nicely. I mean, nice and wide open. And over here on the deck, this is really cool. Look at that. That just kind of snaps up. It's got some type of a snap-on rubber grommet, and it snaps onto these plugs right here. That's actually really nice, really convenient to be able to get to. And again, I haven't studied any of these mowers in any kind of detail like this. I'm just simply going on a first take, first look, how easy would it be to change a belt. All right, there's your tensioner pulley right there, and you can see it's spring loaded. That you want to be able to get the tension off of it so you can take the belt off. And I'm sure there's probably a very specific way this should be done, and I'm probably not doing it the right way, but it does look like you can pull this back by the belt, and you can probably wedge this piece right here to hold that back. That way you can just slip the belt right off. And most of these mowers have a deck belt routing sticker on the deck that shows you the orientation of the belt. So I think that's fairly easy to change out the belt right here. Obviously, the mower blades are basically going to be the same for every single machine. You would have to, you know, lift the front end of the mower up in whichever way you see fit, and get up under the machine and change the blades. So I'm not a stand-on mower mechanic, neither are my guys, so we don't actually do heavy mechanic work. We do changing belts, changing oil, sometimes changing hydraulic fluid, obviously the air filter. This is very easy to get to. Simply pop the cover off here, and you have an inner and an outer. You'll find that the majority of these mowers, all this is going to be pretty much the same, so that's super easy to get to and maintain. Changing the oil has always been a big one for me. Checking the oil has always been a big deal for me. And here's the dipstick right here. You can easily get to it, absolutely no issues. Oil filter right here on the side of the motor, very easily accessible. It's a little tight right here, but if you get looks like you have to unplug this wire, whatever this is. It looks like it's going to something in there. I don't know what that is, but you would have to unplug that, get it out of the way, put your oil filter wrench on there, and pop that off. So that doesn't look too bad. You have a little bit of space right here on the frame to where you could put some type of a little cup to catch the oil out of that. I think this is a cool feature right here. You can see this plate right here is slotted. I think this probably accomplishes 2 goals. You see the fan down there that lets the fan circulate or push air out a little bit better, but I think it also allows for when you change the oil, you don't get a lot of puddling of oil right here making a mess. It kind of drips down through the bottom right there, which I don't know, now that I think about it, that might be a good or a bad thing. You have to make your mind up on that yourself. This has always been a pet peeve of mine, is when you change oil on these machines, well, where does the oil go? Well, they all have a drain plug in the bottom of the block. And most of them now are putting a drain tube on it so that you can get the oil away from the machine. Now, this actually isn't too bad. You could actually, you know, take your cap off and have an oil drain pan sitting right here on the deck, and that actually reaches it very, very easily with no problem. So that's a big deal. I really like that design right there. It's plenty long to where it actually reaches out here. You know, if it comes out a little past the tire, so if you wanted to put a drain pan on the floor, you would actually have to have an extension for this and screw it on, and then drain it, the oil into the oil pan on the floor. It's got a nice little convenient clip right there. That thing clips in and kind of stays up out of the way. I like that. Your gas tank fill up is right here on the side, and the gas tank itself is actually in the center of the mower, embedded inside the frame. So I know this lifts up, and then you got a little latch that'll, you know, hold that up out of the way. There are two bolts inside the frame on the back side, and it looks like I have to loosen those up in order for this to come off. That's what I'm seeing. So basically, even if I took it off, the only thing I think that's good for is to access the gas tank, because the gas tank literally takes up, well, you can see it down here, it literally takes up almost the width of the entire frame back here, and the gas tank kind of starts about here and goes down, and then this space up here is nothing but wiring and pretty much open space right there that, you know, it's opened up on the inside of the frame. So as far as changing hydraulic fluid, man, it looks like a little bit of a pain in the butt, to be honest with you. I'm trying to find the hydraulic filter. You can call me dumb if you want, but I can't find the filter. I honestly can't. I don't know if it's some type of an internal hydraulic filter, but just going based on, you know, other machines I've dealt with, I can pretty much get to the filter really easily. So on ease of maintenance, I'm gonna give this an 8.5. And the reason I don't give it a 9.5 is this hydraulic issue. I can't find the filter, and that could be lack of education on my part. I don't know if there's some type of internal type hydraulic filter thing, or if it's just tucked up in there so good that you can't see it. But I'm telling you, I have crawled all over this machine and I cannot find the hydraulic filter anywhere. And again, I'm not supposed to know everything about every mower. It's kind of one-off take, you know, kind of, I'm just going through them as I go through them. So I haven't studied these machines in no detail whatsoever. But as far as the blade belt, as far as the deck belt goes, changing the oil, that is looks to be incredibly easy. So the only thing kind of knocks it down to 8.5 is this hydraulic thing. And if I could have found the filter right off and got to it, I would have easily scored it a 9.5. All right, so next let's talk about the ingenuity, you know, how all this stuff is kind of put together. And you know, somebody had to think of this and kind of, you know, dream it up and design it and then put it into practice. The controls, you know, the layout of the controls, ergonomics, functionality, how easy is everything to use, the comfort of all this, the height of cut adjustment, how easy this is to raise and lower. So let's talk about the controls right quick, and more specifically the layout of the controls. So when I'm on a machine, I like to be able to grasp the controls, and then I like for everything to be within a hand's reach. Okay, I don't want to have to stretch and bend and, you know, try to have to reach for that and fumble for this and that kind of thing. So one of the issues I have with the controls, and this is going to be personal preference, is the safety features that are built into it. And not that I'm not a safety guy, I mean where they're built in. Your safety is built into this handle right here that goes up and down. Obviously it's built into the parking brake, which that is a very nice parking brake, very firm and very I call it to the point. It's no fumbling around. It's a dead locked and a dead not locked. I actually kind of like that. But this is where I have the issue. Okay, I don't particularly like this. A lot of these stand-on machines, the safety switch will be in the platform. Okay, and I personally prefer that. I personally don't like this combination because the machine can be running, and if I have the parking brake off and I'm operating the machine, and at any point in time my hand comes off of this lever, the whole thing wants to shut off, and then I have to immediately reach down and pull the parking brake up or put this back down. Where with a lot of the stand-on mowers, I can be running the machine, I can stop, and maybe I have a text or something, or maybe I need to stop and text my wife or whatever, and I can take my hands off of everything. I can do what I need to do, and then I can go right back and continue working without having to stop, parking brake, and do that. It's a minor inconvenience, but it's more, I believe, personal preference. If you're used to this, you know, it took me a minute to get used to this. The mower cut off on me several times because I wanted to just automatically get off and go do something with the machine running before engaging the parking brake, and I'm just not used to doing that with the machines that I have now. So, you know, it's kind of what you get used to, you know, and again, personal preference. The ergonomics, how this thing fits your hand, I think I like it. I think it's got good ergonomics to it. It fits my hands fairly well. One thing that this mower has that I really like is you can take out this right here, but I do think this design could be better, okay? Because if I want to take this out, I have to unscrew it all the way and not drop that washer or that other couple little washers in there, and then I can adjust this to my hands. Okay, that's actually pretty cool, because if you have smaller hands, you can adjust it back and it fits your hands better, so you don't have to spread your hands out so far to get a good purchase on it. But the downfall of that is, if you the further back you go with this, the more speed you lose, because in order for the hydraulics to be able to be fully depressed, this bar has to be fully up. So it's a little bit of give and take, a little bit of, you know, sacrifice there. If you want a slower mowing speed and have a set mowing speed, obviously this is a really good thing, because you can set that thing back, you can put your screw in it, and you're only going to go so fast. So this is a good design right here. This is good for ergonomics and the fit of your hand. But there's also a consequence with it, that you will lose speed as well. I really think Gravely can do a little bit better job on this. This could potentially be like a quick release type setup, to where you would pull a pin and it just slides back and you let the pin pop back in, like a spring loaded quick release pin, and that would perfect this, in my opinion. That would make this setup perfect. The layout of the controls are pretty good. Again, here's your forward, here's your reverse. You have a bar right here to rest your thumbs against when you want to pull backwards, and obviously you wrap your fingers around here and you push forward to go forward. So the parking brake is right over here where you can easily get to it. Not a big deal. That's in a good location. This is a carbureted motor, so it is a choke. So you would pull your choke up over here, and then your key is right here where you can get to it very easily. Your throttle is right here, and this is actually, I like the way this throttle does. It kind of locks. It's kind of gives you a firm feel, and it's not spongy by no means. It locks into high throttle position, which is pretty cool. And the PTO is just kind of right here where you can get to it, which isn't too bad. So the layout is really good. I go back to this thing right here. This is aggravating for me. I'm just not gonna lie to you. It's aggravating and it's frustrating. Again, because I want to be able to let go and things keep going. Okay, I don't want the mower to cut off when I let go. That's me personally. And you know, you can train yourself obviously to every time you stop, go in and pull the parking brake up, let go, and the machine will keep running. Of course, minus the PTO. That's something I would definitely have to get used to. This particular machine does not have a USB port to charge your phone. There is a hole cut right here in the dash. I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but that could be an upgrade or something additional that they offer that would go there. I'm not, again, not 100% sure of that. The fuel tank, like we talked about earlier, is right directly in front of the seat, center mass, which I like that. You know, some of them are going to have a fuel tank on one side, some of them are going to have it on the other, some mowers are going to have it on both sides, but I personally, I kind of like that center mass, or one on each side. That would be my personal preference versus, you know, just one fuel tank on one side. So how easy is it to adjust the height of cut? I think it's fairly simple, because one, I can reach it right here from the cockpit, and this pin right here is actually magnetic. So when you stick it down in there, you get a firm lock to it, and you actually have to kind of, you know, give it a little pop to get it out, which I kind of like that. That's good and firm there. As far as the actual adjustment itself and pulling it back, that's a little bit of a heavy deck. I mean, you can tell this deck's made of some really good steel, thick steel, because it's heavy. Well, one thing Gravely thought about, let's put that all the way down, is look right here. I put my foot right here, and you can see the lever moving. So now that becomes a piece of cake. I mean, just, that is incredibly simple. Just give it a little bit of a push with your foot, and it pops right up with no problem. So the controls on the mower, the layout of the controls, I'm gonna give it a 9. They're pretty straightforward, even though taking out some of my personal likes, I think they're pretty straightforward and they're easy to get to. Talking about the ergonomics of the machine, the actual ergonomics, how it fits my hands personally, I'm going to give it an 8.5, and the only reason it doesn't score higher than that is because in order for me to adjust the ergonomics to be able to fit you know, anybody's hands, you have to fight this screw right here a little bit. Not a huge deal, but it is a deal. Okay, so that's the reason it didn't score as good as it could have. But overall, the ergonomics, the way it fits my hands, is pretty good. So the height of cut adjustment, how I'm going to score this, I'm gonna give it a 9.5, 9.5. This is actually very, very easy to use. You simply put a little pressure down with your foot if you need it to go down. If you need a little help, I mean, you could almost do it with just your foot alone, but you need to kind of give it that last little tug with your hand. The grip here is some kind of maybe a foam type material. It feels really good on your hands. So 9.5. The only way I think this would score higher is if potentially the holes here with the height of cuts were a touch higher. That would be, I think it would almost be perfect then. You wouldn't have to lean over quite as much to get to it. You know, if it were in an arm's reach, maybe, that would give it a perfect score. But I really, really like the height of cut adjustment. So now let's talk about the battle of the blades, and we'll go over here and we'll look at the height, you know, what's the lowest it'll cut and what's the highest it'll cut and how accurate that is. So that's, to me, that's a big deal. To some folks it may not be a big deal, but to me it is. If I'm going to put the thing in an inch and 1.5, I expect it to cut 1.5 inches. If I'm going to put it in 5, I expect it to cut 5 inches. Not completely sure if that's the intention of mower manufacturers, but that's the way, as a consumer, most people are going to look at it that way. And this is off pretty bad. Obviously, I want to make sure that this is pointed out, that I do see adjustment right here. Okay, these linkages each have an adjustment on them to where it looks like the whole deck could be raised up, but you know, this could potentially go back to the dealer, and the dealer didn't have this set, or if it's set from the factory correctly, somebody missed it. I think it's obvious because it's the height of the actual height of cut is off pretty bad on this machine. You know, with that said, I'm gonna score this a 6 because it's off pretty bad. It looks like you can loosen the nut, possibly put an impact wrench on it and zip the whole deck up, and you could actually get the blades set perfectly then, but run what you brung, and this one isn't right. The cut quality on this mower, it was surprising to me. It really did surprise me, because in my mind, I've never really thought of Gravely as a superior cut quality machine, if that makes any sense. I've just never looked at them that way, and several other brands that I just don't look at them that way. But I was absolutely surprised at just how good this mower cuts. It cuts very clean, very good. Only I'm looking at a few little scragglers here and there, and yes, I'm looking down the center of the track. I'm not looking where the deck would overlap. I'm looking down the center of tracks, and very, very little stragglers here and there. The cut quality is really good on it. Okay, I'm going to give the cut quality a 9 because and I don't want to sound like I'm you know, disrespectful in any way. I simply have never looked at a Gravely as being like known for cut quality. Now I know that this Pro Stance right here is a very clean cutting mower, and it's totally completely changed my outlook on this particular machine. So I didn't take this flap off because you can actually set it up and leave it out of the way, that's pretty convenient, and you see it won't come back down. As far as the way it discharges clippings, it's okay. It's okay. What I found is it disperses the clippings well, but I caught clumps. I saw clumps and little quarter-sized clumps to where the grass isn't being ground up properly, so it can, when it discharges, it kind of scatters out into a more even distribution. I saw some clumps come out, and every bit of this turf I'm mowing, my yard, Blue, my father-in-law and my neighbors, it's dry as a bone to the touch. Zero wet grass. That was one of the things I wanted, is to mow all of them in the same condition so that the grass is as dry as it can be, and I still got a little bit of light clumping. Now, nothing remotely close to where it would be if you were mowing wet grass. Okay, this was minor clumping, but compared to what I'm used to using, it was more clumping that I'd like to see. So I'm gonna have to score that. I'm gonna have to score that 7.5. I know that's a little low, but you want your clippings to be distributed evenly. I don't want little clumps of stuff. Yes, the blades are razor sharp. Yes, the under the deck has been cleaned. It's just simply, that's just the way it throws it with my experience. So we're gonna go with that. So how well does it stripe? Well, absolutely, it surprised me, to be honest with you. There is no additional striping kit feature back here in the back, and it laid down some pretty dang nice lines. Now, of course, it's impossible for me to time each single video so that the sun is in the exact same place every time. It's just impossible. So with that said, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. That's a pretty good score for the striping. You know, again, in order for a machine to score, 9.5 or 10, it's going to have to be upper class in whatever the category is. But 8.5 is nothing shabby at all. It lays down some really nice stripes. All right, so let's talk about comfort and ride quality. That's a big deal. You want to be on something that's not going to beat you to death all day long. I found the mower overall to be somewhat of a rough ride. It's not a very, it's not a beat you to death type ride, but it's definitely not a very smooth ride, that's for sure. Most of these stand-ons, they're going to be rigid across the back axle. They're going to be rigid across the front, and so they're going to ride a little stiff. The way that can be minimized is in the platform, and back here on the platform, there's not a lot to help me to hold my 6'1", 250-pound frame up. It's just not. When I'm on the machine, I kind of feel like I bottom out when I'm mowing, meaning with the weight of my body, I don't have much give. I don't have any suspension left. Something else I found is when I'm on a ditch or a hill and I'm leaning this way, the pad itself helps keep me locked in because it has these tabs that kind of fluff out on the padding. But if you'll see my right foot, that actually hurt a little bit. You see the height adjustment lever right here? Sometimes when I went to move my foot around, my foot keeps hitting that thing, and not to mention when I'm on a slope, and if I'm sloped to the left, the outside of my little toe is digging into this metal right here. So that was a little uncomfortable, to be honest with you. And then just the overall suspension part was pretty rough. I think I'm bottoming it out. Maybe I need to go on a diet. So for ride quality and comfort, I'm gonna have to give it an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8. Now I think that's being a little forgiving on my hand. Technically it might need a 7.5, but we'll go with an 8. I just found that when I'm riding across, especially my neighbor's backyard, there were some bumps, and again I'm trying to do all this mowing at the same speed. I'm mowing the same direction in my neighbor's yard and in my father-in-law's yard, so that I feel the exact same thing with every mower across the board. I want to feel the humps and bumps the exact same direction, the same way, so that it's fair. And I just found that when I'm going across subtle changes in the lay of the land, the thing will bump, especially at full speed. There was a few times on the left side back there where it does get a little bit rougher, that the front end actually kind of bounced over out of my track, and I had to adjust my steering to bounce it back in. So it I hate to call it a rough ride, but it's definitely not a very smooth ride. Horsepower. the power of the machine. That's a big deal. You don't want to be lacking. Now, I need to say this to be straightforward. This is the Kawasaki FX 730V. This is a carbureted engine. I do not know if Gravely offers a bigger motor or bigger engine for the ProStance 52. I don't know. That's something you'll have to look on their website. If they do, get it. That would be my suggestion to you. If this is the mower for you, get the biggest engine possible. I found that this particular engine does not complement the hydraulics all that well. I apologize to Gravely for deleting the hydraulics portion of this video, but I do recall the system very well. As you know, I like a very touchy-feely hydraulic system, and the feel of this hydraulic system was more of a mushy feel, and for that reason I give the hydraulics feel a score of a 7. I did not find the hydraulic sensitivity to be all that sensitive. I found them to be quite soft, to be honest with you, and for that reason I give the hydraulic sensitivity a score of a 7. The responsiveness of the hydraulic system was quite slow and had a lot of trouble keeping up with my commands. I give the hydraulic responsiveness a score of a 6.5. This is not a scoring category, but I call it hold my sun drop. And you know, I don't see a cup holder. That's kind of disappointing. You know, you're out there working hard, heat of the day, you know, dusty, yucky, nasty, hot. Maybe you want to grab your Yeti with your water or sun drop or your favorite drink or whatever and just kind of cool off while you're mowing, and you can't do that. So, you know, again, it's non-scoring. It's not a deal breaker by no means, but I'd love to see a cup holder on this machine. So let's talk about the verdict. Overall, in general, it's a solid mower. It's a very solid machine. It has several things about it that I like, that I think are assets to it, but it also, I feel like it's underpowered. This particular unit that was sent to me, I don't think that's enough motor or engine to make the machine perform to the capability that I think it would be capable of. And I think this is another issue. I think these smaller tires back here present a little bit of a problem. I did also find when I'm going into a turn, making the end of my pass, and I go to turn, the hydraulics and all, coupled with the smaller tires, I did find it wanting to spin a little bit and break traction. And we don't want that out here on this turf or that turf or that. I don't want that. I want spinning. And yes, I could have feathered back and slowed down a little bit and controlled that, but I have two situations where I'm trying to show production and trying to do it as quickly as can. And of course, it didn't spin at all in my yard because I kind of took my time and enjoyed the mow. But when I got into a production frame of mind, a production mindset, I noticed that the hydraulics could not keep up with me. They couldn't keep up with my hands and me wanting to manipulate the machine at a certain rate of speed, and the machine couldn't keep up. It was that simple. But other than that, I think it's a wonderful machine. Again, made in the USA. I mean, you gotta love that. And there are some things that surprised me. Again, the quality of cut and the striping capability, I was shocked, to be honest with you, because it is a very, very clean cutting mower. And I like that clean cut for sure. Say, be sure and like, subscribe, and share, and tell all your buddies. We got several more mowers to go. This is number 2 in the line of 13 mowers that we're gonna show, possibly a 14th. I think that one might be coming, the Bobcat, and we're still talking with Kubota a little bit too, so they may join the party here a little later. But that is the Gravely ProStance 52-inch cutting deck, and it's a good machine. I've had a very good time using it, and as always, I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to watch. I'll check you later.